Welcome back to the Elevate With Us podcast. Whether it's your first time here or you've been here before, please be sure and like and share with all of your favorite realtors for all the great information we have. All of the great Northeast realtors out there, I know you know my guest. She is very well versed in the real estate field and is a good supporter of all of us out here. So I'm really excited to welcome Kristin to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us your story, Kristin, because it's pretty exciting and all the different businesses you guys have now is just amazing.
All right. Well, I did not start off in the business world. I was actually a teacher for 10 years.
Me
Middle
too.
school teacher.
Wow.
Yes. Now sometimes I look back and think, oh my goodness, how did I teach middle school? They seem so crazy.
So crazy. And how old are your kids now?
10 and 11. So we just
so
started sixth grade.
So you have a middle schooler.
Yes. And always, before when they were younger, I was like, oh, middle school's the worst. And then I was like, oh, they're going to be terrified to go to middle school. So I started being like, yay, middle school. But so far, so good. My son is enjoying middle school.
Yeah.
So a little more freedom than elementary school.
Yeah.
So he's good. So
early start time, though.
7:25, he is in class. So
it's incredible,
yes,
right?
It is. He's not such a morning person, but he's doing pretty good. So
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. So when I had my children, I stayed home. Thought I would return to the classroom. Actually got my doctorate degree, so it is Dr. Kristin Lunsford.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yes. So thought I would return to the classroom. We did move to Florida while I was working on that doctorate degree as well, because we were in Atlanta, Georgia, outside of Atlanta, and I decided probably not going to return to the classroom after a while. I did work for a private school as a consultant, but during this time, about 2019, 2020, my husband was like, oh, it'd be so great if you came and work with me. And I kind of always just brushed him off. And finally,
at that time, you were in your husband owned a home inspection / pest control company.
Correct.
In Atlanta.
We were in Atlanta and Florida
okay.
at that time. He owned it with his brother, who was still in Atlanta. And they actually had built up a very large pest control company in Atlanta, and they actually sold it in 2019. So at that point, my brother-in-law became in charge of the Atlanta home inspection, and then we were in charge of the Jacksonville home inspection and pest control.
Okay.
So at that point, my husband was like, it'd really be great if you came, like, really, I need you. So he kind of broke me down. And in 2020, I officially did start, January 2020, started working with the pest control and home inspection company. And I was still working part-time as a director of an education school in Ponte Vedra Beach. And then also, as we know, in March 2020, COVID hit, so then I became homeschool mommy.
So those were such good times.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was trying to do like 3 things, and then I realized like this is not working. So I did stop doing the education aspect of the private school, let that go, and then worked with LunsPro, and then doing the homeschool thing with my kids for a few weeks.
So we'll just say like in 2020 you had LunsPro, and was it Kingfish then?
It was Kingfish, yes.
So you had those 2 companies, but since then you guys have added some really cool additional companies. So that always fascinates me when entrepreneurs become serial entrepreneurs and you just keep growing and growing and growing. So how did that happen?
So in 2020, we did get connected with Jax Real Producers. Another girl was managing, owning it.
I did not know that you guys weren't always the owners of that, which tell everybody what it is, because a lot of people might not know what Jacksonville Real Producers are.
So Real Producers is actually a national franchise. We're in 140 cities today, but it is a magazine that just features the stories of the top real estate agents here in Jacksonville. It's the top 500, because on average, top 500 is doing about 75 to 80% of all the transactions.
Right.
So for businesses that want to get to know those real estate agents, it's the best way to get to know them, because obviously those top 500 are very busy because they're very successful. So to just call them up and be like, hey, let's have lunch, let's have coffee. They're like, yeah, no, I'm busy. So they're like, that's not going to work. So, for businesses like home inspection, pest control, mortgages, any business really can benefit from getting to know real estate agents for those referrals. But you have to have a way to build relationships, because real estate agents are very much about knowing who they're recommending to their clients and who they're partnering with.
Absolutely.
So Real Producers does the magazine, but then we also hold events that invite the top agents and our partners. So the magazine is a big hit. A lot of real estate agents love being in the spotlight.
It is. It is a great magazine.
It is, and it's just a positive community building thing. My husband actually was a news producer in Atlanta.
I only recently learned that since I follow you guys on social media. I had no idea. And where did he live, in Bahamas or something, or Bermuda for a while?
He quit his job.
Yes.
Realized everybody in the newsroom, you work holidays, nights, weekends.
Yeah.
News breaks, you have to go. So
Right.
he was like, man, everybody's miserable. And so like he was on the younger side, and everybody was like, get out while you can. So he moved to St. John in the Virgin Islands.
Oh, Virgin Islands. I knew it was
Yes.
somewhere tropical.
Yes.
How cool is that?
Yeah, so it's a pretty cool story. I mean, because everyone's always like, oh, I'm just going to move to an island. But
And he
actually
did
did.
it,
So,
yeah.
him and his brother actually moved to the Virgin Islands. And his brother was there for a few months before, and then Brian came. So Brian was there for 6 months. He always says it felt like 2 years, though, because island time is super slow. You know, like, and he was like, you know, and every time St. John is small, if you needed like real groceries, you were getting on a ferry. And
No way.
yeah, I mean, now they have a little more, but
Yeah.
back then, he's like, like it was a lot of ferry stuff, and he's like, I just
Interesting.
miss the comforts of the U.S. You
Right.
know, like
Wow.
it was a little easier. So at that point, him and his brother did come back, and that's when they started like the home inspection and pest
Wow.
control. Their dad actually had like a pest control company that they kind of took over from him.
How
and
neat.
built it up. So yeah.
That's super neat. So in 2020, you start helping your husband run the business.
Mm-hmm.
And then when do you decide to add the other companies?
So Real Producers, we actually were a partner with them, with the other girl running it.
Okay.
So we loved the idea of being in the same room with the top agents,
Sure.
getting to know them. However, COVID hit, some other things happened with the girl running it, so it just stopped. So we were like, oh, that's a bummer. And then immediately my husband and I were both like, we should take this over. I actually have a journalism degree as
wow.
well. Never did anything with it. I wanted to be the girl, like the anchor, not the reporter out in the blizzard or the
Sure.
hurricane.
Yeah.
And they're like, you got to work your way up there. And I was like, oh, I don't know about that. So taught middle school, which I always say was like a natural disaster almost every day anyways.
No, those kids are
It's
tough.
like- so yeah, I was fortunate. I enjoyed 10 years of the middle school, but it was time. I'm retired from that.
Yep.
But so we reached out into is the company that owns Real
Okay.
Producers. They have multiple magazines that they do as well. So we were just like, hey, we're interested in starting this back up. What does that look like?
Yeah.
So we officially took over March 2021, and we went
Wow.
to print July 2021.
Wow, that's so awesome. I
that's
mean, the events are really fun. They're always really great. I think it's really hard for top producers to connect just because I really don't feel a lot of the realtors here are super competitive with each other, right? I think we really do feel that more of that collaboration type situation. And when I was selling a lot of real estate, it was so fun to go to the events and put, real faces to names and be like, are you like? I actually met Sarah Schwartz, and we had done a deal together, and we had never met, and it was so funny because I was like, I know you know me. Oh my gosh, this is so fun, and it was just so great to have those connections. I think especially after COVID, when you weren't ever meeting other people or ever meeting other realtors, or even the sub businesses, mortgage, title, insurance, photographer. You weren't meeting anyone because nobody wanted to be in the same room
Right.
together. So I love the platform. I think it's absolutely phenomenal.
And we hear so many stories like that is like, oh, I've done several deals with this person, but
They
never
never
actually
met
met
them.
them. And like, they're like, it's so great. And they're like, it's really becoming a community of collaboration.
Yeah.
Kind of that spirit of we can all win. Let's cheer each other on. Let's help each other. Just raise everybody up. So we love that idea of just building a collaborative community together.
And sometimes it's fun to not work. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of events you can go to that you can meet other realtors in, but it's a class.
Yeah.
So you don't really have the opportunity to quote unquote network or talk. And sometimes it's really nice to end your day with just talking to other people. I mean, we are social beings. It's what we should like to do. And that didn't happen for so long. I think it was super needed, and then people kind of freaked out about it, and then it's finally back, and it's just so fun.
Yeah, and a lot of top agents will tell me, like, I don't go to many events, but I will come to those because we know it's going to just be an atmosphere. We try to keep our events very light, party-like feeling.
Absolutely.
Just come, hang out. And they're like, we have lots of friends in the business, but we're all busy. So sometimes we go, the only times we see them all year is at the Real Producers events. So.
It's absolutely right. And it is so great. You guys have done a really good job with it. I love it. I think it's really awesome. So you have LunsPro, you have Kingfish, which, just so you know, if you're looking for a pest control company, they're the best. I'll tell you a story later. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So you have those two companies, but you have more.
So Jax Real Producers, and then we were meeting with our team, and we're just always trying to make sure we're taking care of our people. And so when the housing market is a roller coaster, so are our businesses, especially, the home inspections. And so we're always wanting to come up with ideas of what can we make sure our guys are taken care of, or our girls are taken care of. And so we were throwing out ideas of what other businesses are out there that we can do. And so somebody mentioned lights. And so it started kind of as Christmas lights, because our home inspections does slow down Thanksgiving, Christmas time.
Sure.
So we were like, oh, that'll be good. They already have ladders,
Right.
They can hang. And then one of our team members mentioned the permanent LED lights.
Right.
And so I had actually never heard of them.
They're super cool.
They are super cool, controlled by your phone. I mean, you can control every bulb's color, patterns, everything. So they are super cool. So we started getting into both permanent and seasonal lights.
You do both?
We do both.
Oh, I only thought you did permanent lights.
No,
They're super neat.
Super neat. Yeah, so we do both. Some neighborhoods like ours don't allow the permanent lights, so we still do offer the seasonal lights as well.
And the name of that company is?
Joy Lights.
Joy Lights.
Joy Lights, yes, because I remember the first time that we had lights put on our house, and when you just come around the corner and you see your house lit up, it just brings joy.
Absolutely.
And so we were like, oh, there's such a great feeling, just like, and it's just a happy time. And so we're like, when we were coming up with names, we're like, oh, Joy Lights, because that's how we felt, is just brought us
I totally
joy.
agree with you. I totally get that. And then from that, you also have another company.
We have our handyman service, It Flamingo. Listening to real estate agents, we just always heard, I need somebody to do these projects. I need somebody to do these projects, especially like smaller projects.
Yep.
And they're like, most of the times they're like, you call somebody and they're like, too small of a project for me.
Correct.
So, or they're like, I can get you in a month. So we were just like, there is a need, so we can fill that need. So we just kind of listen to what's happening in the industry, in the market, and just looking at opportunities for us to go in and help out.
I mean, it's so amazing, and I see this theme over and over again with entrepreneurs, is they see a need and they shift and make it happen. And I think that's why we think differently. That's why we're in these spots, is that we're able to kind of take ourselves out of it and say, what are we hearing? What are we seeing? We remember it. And then we use that platform to serve the community, because it's just super, super important. So your entire group of companies is called?
Bring the Joy Ventures, because that is our whole motto, is no matter what we're doing, we want to make sure we are the ones bringing the joy to other people. Sometimes real estate transactions can be very stressful, and we want to make sure that every part that we're doing is we're being a positive light, bringing the joy to those people. And we tell our team members too, like, even when you're at the grocery store, wherever, just be the positive person to make somebody's day happy and give them joy.
No, I think it's so great. I say to my kids all the time, if it doesn't bring you joy, don't do it.
Right.
There's no reason to be stuck in something that you don't like. And with everything going around us right now, I think it's really important to remember that being positive or smiling at someone or holding the door for them, they're such forgotten, or even waving, while you're walking or in the car. People can give you the strangest looks because they're not used to anyone, like a stranger, just being like, hi.
Yeah.
And it's simple.
In our neighborhood, I literally wave at everybody we pass, and then I'll be driving places and I'll pass somebody walking on the street, and I'm automatically And you can see they kind of like light up like, hey, and then I'm like, oh, we don't know each other.
Yeah.
I'm just like, then I'll try to like, oh, I'm kind of half waving.
Yeah.
But it's so funny to see like their reactions, especially when they weren't expecting it. All of a sudden, just the smile on their face.
And it just feels so good. It's so contagious to just bring joy to somebody in such a small way. It didn't cost you anything.
Right.
It was just a wave.
Yep.
So something that I love that Real Producers does, and I went to an event yesterday, is you guys are really good about organizing give back events.
Yes.
So tell us about the one yesterday and other things you guys have done, because we talked about this before the show, is that Realtors specifically, we love giving back. I mean, that's kind of what we do every day. Is if you're in real estate for the money, you're in it for the wrong reason. You're in it because you like relationships and you like to help people. And sometimes we don't have the time or the energy to figure out how we can give back. And that's a big part of what you guys do. And I think it's amazing because Realtors come together. I mean, what were there, 25 of us yesterday?
There was 30 or
30.
29
of us that came.
So, it was great.
So tell us about that organization and just like different things you guys have done.
So yesterday's event was centered around the Letter Project, which is actually started here in Jax Beach.
No way.
So it's a local, it started here. It is a like international program now.
I had no idea.
But what it is you get together, or you can do it on your own too, but you write letters to girls or women around the world that just need some encouragement. So people will submit somebody's name and kind of their story and tell why they need some encouragement. So we did a writing party, and we just had, different paper and stationery, and we just wrote to about 6 different girls, all ages. I think it was from ages 8 to 50 plus.
Yeah, it was.
For the people that we were writing for. And so it was just a time to come together. But then you're socializing and interacting while you're writing the letters and doing something great to make somebody feel good and bring them some joy that they need right now in their life.
It was really nice. I think that, and I say this to the agents a lot, that if you're looking for a way to connect with people that you haven't heard from and maybe you don't feel comfortable making a call, no one's ever sad to get a handwritten card in the mail.
Yeah.
Like you've never been like, oh man, I wish I didn't get that card. Instead, because it's a lost art, you're so excited.
Yes.
And so I know that this is going to bring those women or those girls so much joy, like and so much happiness. We were talking about at our table about what you would do with them, how you would display them, where you would put them. Obviously they're going to make you really, really emotional in a good way. Yeah. To just think, I think especially the women that are a little bit older that understand, what it is to be an adult and to do those things, to know that, strangers took time to make you feel better. And some of their stories were really relatable. I've had a lot of loss of life in my life, and so was one of my agents. And so we immediately wrote, we picked the same 4 people in a row out of order to write to. And I was like, Rhonda, it was so weird. And the first person we wrote to was someone that had loss. And I just thought that was really interesting that I wonder if that was a theme throughout the group, is that you started with someone that had a story that you felt you could relate to, that happened to you. Yeah,
and I think a lot of times everybody has a story.
Absolutely.
Like everybody is going through something.
Always.
And, and sometimes people just need that little extra encouragement, that extra joy. And that's why we're always telling our kids, like, be the first one to reach out. Be the first one to wave. Be the first one to smile.
Yes.
Or they'll be like, well, they didn't say hi to me. Who cares? Say hi to them. Like, you don't know what happened that morning to them.
Right.
So we'll always be the one to kind of reach out first and just know everybody's going through something.
And the way you react or the way you continue to react is your choice, right? Like everyone has good things and bad things going on. And I think it's really important to just focus on positivity and find something good in every day. I firmly believe in affirmations. I do them every single day. I write them down. I say what happened that was great, in the morning and the evening, because you could really get sad all the time.
Yeah. I mean, you can look at it a blessing or a curse.
Every
there's
day.
Always 2 ways to look at everything. And I always say either God's direction or God's protection. If it's not going the way you want, God might be protecting you from something.
Right.
You don't know what's in the future there. So I always think, okay, if it's not working out exactly how you wanted it to, think about the good and what blessings could come from that.
That's so amazing. I love positivity. I think it's a lost art.
Yes.
For sure.
There's a lot of negativity in our world for sure, and it's easy to get bombarded by that. And so it's really just making sure in your head, you're just trying to always look for that positive side. And it's hard. I mean, it is hard.
For sure.
It's not like I'm just like, oh, rainbows and, flowers every day. I mean, but it's hard. But I mean, when you look around at how blessed we are, I mean, it's like you should just stop and be like, look at all that I have. I mean, I always think too, like, even when people complain about traffic, my mom was always like, well, if it's an accident, somebody's having a much worse day than you.
Correct.
You're just stuck in traffic. They're
Right.
now dealing with a lot, could be injured. So I always try to never complain about the traffic. Because I'm like, you never know, what's happening, or, flat tire. And then I'm like, it'd be somebody's dream to be able to have a car.
Right.
And got a flat tire. Where I'm just like, oh, like, why'd this happen? And, so I just always look like some of our problems are somebody else's dream.
Correct.
Happening like, oh, got to clean the house. Like, there's so many people that would be like, I'd love a house to clean, you know? So it's always a way to look at it and just remember how blessed we really are.
Yeah, it's just your perception of it and just trying to remember that, it's true. Things don't go great every day. And there's some days that you feel like everything's against you, right? So you sleep through your alarm and you have an early morning appointment. Your dog had an accident in the house and you stepped in it. And, and you're like, what is going on with me today? Like, why is this happening to me? Well, did it happen to you or did it happen for you?
Right.
And was it something that was brought there to see how you would react?
Right.
And did you instead just take a deep breath? Because we all have bad days.
Yeah.
You can have a bad day. Just don't dwell on it. Right. Don't make it a bad day because it was a bad 10 minutes.
Especially having kids, because they are watching everything, So like how we react, they pick up on it, and then they'll like react like I did. I'm like, why are you acting like that? And they're like, well, Mom, that's exactly what you just did. I'm like, oh. So I just try to be like a positive example, like to the kids, of how I want them to react.
And in instances like that where you realize, or I know this happens with me, if I know I reacted poorly, like so bad, I apologize.
Yes.
And I just say, hey, listen, I am not perfect.
Yep.
I make a lot of mistakes every day and I own them. And what I did right there, like especially like if you're late and you're in traffic and you're so mad and you might say bad words, right? And you're like, or the person cut you off in front of you and you slammed on your brakes and you spilled your coffee all over your white pants. And you're so mad and you react so poorly, I think that's a great opportunity to tell your kids, hey, listen, I reacted and I'm sorry. And if they do that too, you've got to give them the opportunity to apologize, like, and not punish for those type of behaviors.
For sure, because we all make, mistakes. We all do things that we wish we could take back.
Yeah.
And, we're not perfect by any means, so our kids have to know it's okay to make mistakes, but own them.
Stay tuned for part 2 of this Elevate with Us podcast.